And we're also available on BBC Radio Manchester as well. And history is repeating itself, because 3 years ago in the last 16, Spurs lost, Liverpool lost, and Chelsea lost. And so far, those three English teams have been beaten in the last 16. Manchester City 3 years ago provided the only win. Will they do so again? Never since the round of 16 was introduced into the Champions League have four English sides lost the opening leg in the last 16. But we are underway, and Manchester City are straight away on the attack, and it almost reached Haaland on the edge of the penalty area. So in their red and black shirts and black shorts, they're playing from right to left, where the standing end of the Red Bull Arena is, where the flags are flying, and where it still reads, "We're on the way to Istanbul." Certainly Leipzig are having a fine season when you think that they're in a hotly contested race in the Bundesliga. Although they're fifth, they're only 4 points behind Bayern. Very, very tight at the top, with Bayern, Dortmund and Union Berlin all locked together on 43 points. So Manchester City will know about the threat and the quality that Leipzig possess, Matt Upson.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's no secret really as to how they play at home, how they're going to want to go about this game. And he started in quite a calm fashion, actually. Manchester City just stroking the ball about, probing a little bit, and whether or not that's going to be a theme, Leipzig are more than happy for the opposition to have the ball. In fact, they probably prefer it, Deno, to be honest, and just try and draw people onto them, create that space in the midfield and up front, and then all of a sudden, bang, they break brilliantly.
The one thing I've noticed already with Manchester City is that Akanji has gone out very wide on the right-hand side,
yep,
almost operating in a right-back area that has allowed Kyle Walker to go up very high and wide on that right-hand side ahead of him.
And when he does that, Rodri drops kind of into the back line, doesn't he? So again, another little positional variant that Pep Guardiola loves to throw into the mix.
Gundogan threads a ball through to Haaland, just too much on it, and it runs through towards their goalkeeper, Blaswich, the 31-year-old German, all in green, away towards our left-hand side.
It looks to be the two of City sat, though, doesn't it? We thought it might be a three, but it's looking a little bit like Rodri and Bernardo Silva sitting in front of Diaz and Akanji.
That's why when people say, oh, Manchester City are predictable, I don't get it.
No.
Because he tweaks it, he changes it, he's always got a different variation. As we proved in the last two games, with Bernardo Silva dropping in at left back. Forsberg picks it up. Lima tries to play an early ball forward through towards Andre Silva. That was cut out. But here is Grealish to Rodri. Ake going forward on this near side. Rodri loses the ball though to Lima in the midfield, and he plays it forward now to Andre Silva, drifting out towards the right. There was Ruben Dias to snuff that out for Manchester City. Silva keeps the ball in play, and Leipzig quite quickly along the ground, and now with Orban, out it goes to Gvardiol, and quickly passes the ball out towards the left. This is going to be two quality football matches between two sides in this last 16.
Yeah, I think this is a brilliant tie, if I'm honest. You know, just the styles, how they match up and how they're going to go about it.
Andre Silva held up by Ake. Ball inside to Szoboszlai. The Hungarian international enters the penalty area, waits for some support, holds the ball up, tries to pull it back to Timo Werner, former Chelsea player, of course, who'd gone into a central area. Leipzig still have it. Diagonal cross into the box, scuffed away by Rodri to Grealish, 25 yards out in front of his own goal, up towards Haaland. Doesn't necessarily stick, but he's helped out by Mahrez, who lifts the ball in the air, and Bernardo Silva plays it out towards Kyle Walker, who you might recall for a kick at Andre Silva last season was sent off in the group stages, and resulted actually in a 3-match ban. He missed the last 16 games against Sporting in the first leg of the quarter-final. So when Pep Guardiola last night was saying that the players need to keep hold of their emotion, they need to keep their discipline too. 4 minutes played. BBC Radio 5 live also on Radio Manchester 0-0. Akanji forward towards Walker, who we've just been talking about, back towards Akanji. See, when they're in possession, it's almost like they're playing with three at the back.
Yeah.
As Walker runs forward.
I mean, I'm struggling to really know whether it is a 3 or a 4, to be honest. And that says it all.
It changes then when they're out of
possession. Exactly. So at the moment, you know, Ake's very narrow, Diaz is in the middle, Akanji's there as a 3. I mean, Kyle Walker's very high up on the right-hand side, isn't he? I mean, even when the ball's out on the left, he's still high, which is why I think he's sat Bernardo Silva with Rodri, so he's going to have a little bit of a box 4 right in the centre of the pitch to maybe stop those counter-attacks coming through the middle of the pitch, possibly.
That's the voice of Matthew Upson, who's with us here inside the Red Bull Arena. As Ake, who spoke very well last night in the press conference, with a throw on this near side the left, back towards Diaz. Ederson, all in blue, comes out of his penalty area and plays it to Akanji, one of a handful of City players who have experience, of course, of playing in Germany, following his arrival from Borussia Dortmund. And it goes back out towards Akanji, who hits it forward right-footed. Knocked up in the air with his head by Haaland, cleverly played out by Gundogan, straight away to Grealish, who's on the attack. Grealish into the penalty area, Mahrez trying to get a sight of goal. In the end, he was just crowded out by about 3 white shirts of Leipzig, who looked towards Timo Werner. But on the recovery was Ruben Dias running back towards the halfway line, and Manchester City have the ball back.
There's a lovely little pass outside of the boot from Grealish there, wasn't it? He got through onto the left-hand side and just got his head up and flicked it inside the pitch. I think that side of his game has really come on of late when he releases the ball, and the timing that he releases it is getting much, much better.
Bernardo Silva finds Mahrez, diagonal ball into the penalty area, headed away by Orban. Forsberg, well, the referee's actually given the free kick. No, he hasn't. He's let play continue. I thought that Forsberg may have been impeded there. As it is, play continues, and Manchester City with every outfield player in the Leipzig half. Vocal crowd here in Leipzig. They're jumping up and down in unison behind that goal that Manchester City are attacking as they play from right to left. Here is Ake, 30 yards from goal. Back with Rodri. Bernardo Silva with the layoff. Akanji in the centre circle, goes out to the left. Ruben Dias comes forward. Jack Grealish waits just in from the touchline. Szoboszlai is with him. Grealish plays the ball back towards Akanji. Bernardo Silva is the one who's dropped deep on this occasion, and Walker stays high and wide on that far side, the right. And Manchester City seeing a lot of the ball. Here is Mahrez. He's come inside, creates the space wide for Walker. Mahrez, though, runs towards him, doesn't pass the ball to him, and instead goes back towards Rodri. And Bernardo Silva now, from a walking pace, picks it back up and now finds Walker, who lays it off behind towards Mahrez. And Manchester City already in these opening 7.5 minutes are dominating. Back towards Walker, stays high and wide. Back inside now towards Gundogan with a cross that was blocked first time. And Manchester City have settled very, very well in these early stages.
I mean, I don't know what you can do about the quality of this passing at the moment from Manchester City. The movement, the patience they have. It's almost like unlocking a door that's closed, isn't it? The way that they move the ball, and Gundogan popping up in space, and they're just moving Leipzig all over the pitch in midfield in confusing positions as well. Like you say, Walker high and wide like a winger. All of a sudden, Mahrez is inside, then Gundogan comes in, and just the quality of their passing. I mean, they've had possession of the ball now for a long passage here, isn't it? They haven't lost it probably in a minute or two.
No. Thierry Henry says they're predictable. I'll tell you what they are. They're pleasing on the eye.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing to watch. The quality of what that is, and you can just picture those training sessions, can't you? Those little boxes and squares of how they play out of tight little areas, and the amount they do it, how clever they are in seeing the space is, it's impressive to watch.
Manchester City have been awarded a free kick. It's midway through the Leipzig half. It's left of centre. It's a good 35 yards out from goal. Quite a high line from Leipzig, all in white, to offer a degree of protection to Blaswich, their goalkeeper. Mahrez is going to take it. Gundogan actually is now going to trot across as well to be a potential different option with the take of this free kick. So the whistles from the Leipzig supporters. Gundogan leaves it after all of that. It is Mahrez, and it's headed out by Szoboszlai on the edge of his own penalty area, picked up by Bernardo Silva. Back to Walker. It was a heavy first touch actually from Walker, and he had to then try and retrieve it against Lima, and the ball looped up in the air.
Well, that's the kind of moment they're waiting for. Leipzig, they love just a heavy touch, just a slight slip of concentration in the middle of the park. They win that ball, and straight away when the ball went up in the air, you see the movement of the likes of Werner, Forsberg, the way they just all of a sudden in their mind is just, I'm just going to run forward, I'm just going to run straight into the space, and they just trust that the player finds the ball in there.
Offside against Andre Silva. I mean, we travelled down along with a number of Manchester City supporters from Berlin yesterday on the train, and I remember one of the things you said to me, because when Pep Guardiola, he said in transition they're unstoppable, but you talked about the threat that Leipzig pose on the counter-attack, and we're yet to see that, but I'm also mindful of it 10 minutes in.
Yeah, they're sniffing all the time, aren't they? And it's going in the fashion of what you'd expect with Manchester City. Real control of the ball, lovely triangles and patterns of passing, and you know, picking up really peculiar positions sometimes from midfield players or full-backs. But then they're just waiting for that one little mistake or one loose ball that just pops out into the space.
Here is Rodri coming forward. Grealish offers the width on this near side, the left. He's level with the penalty area, but they've doubled up on Grealish. It was Schlager as well as the right back Klosterman who were trying to deal with it. City have kept the ball after all of that. Rodri goes back inside to Bernardo Silva, 30 yards from goal, central position. Bernardo Silva turning away. Everybody bar Andre Silva is back behind the ball. So Leipzig are having to do a lot of defending, trying to contain City in these early stages here on BBC Radio 5 Live. As Ruben Dias across to Bernardo Silva, slides it to Mahrez, just inside the penalty area on that right box. It comes back towards Bernardo Silva, plays it back out to Walker, just laying it off. First time passing from Manchester City. Mahrez now running in field. Back to the edge of the centre circle to Ruben Dias, who turns. City are in control.
Total control. Sat on the halfway line with the ball, with everyone, like you've said, in the Leipzig half, and they're just moving them around. I mean, it's good discipline from Leipzig. They're well organised. They've got their back four in, Orban and Gvardiol. Lots of hand gestures, lots of organising of the players in front of him. I mean, the communication, it's got to be spot on this evening from Leipzig.
75% possession already for Manchester City in these opening 12 minutes. What was it, the 23 shots that they had against Nottingham Forest at the weekend? But Steve Cooper, when he was speaking to 5 Live, and our producer Gary Flintoff said we just had to sacrifice our principles, really, stay in the game for as long as we can. We knew that they'd get that one opportunity. Hard to do that over the 2 games against Manchester City as Walker comes forward, pushes the ball past his man, sends over a cross that is touched behind for a corner kick to Manchester City.
Well, not many people can knock a ball one side, run round them and get it the other, but Kyle Walker can, because he's got the pace, and he was very direct there. Just knocked it inside and ran round the outside of Hastenberg, the left back. Just got his head up, couldn't quite find the cross, but Manchester City looking very dangerous at the moment.
So it's a corner kick to Manchester City. Mahrez is going to take it. Leipzig have everybody back in and around their penalty area. The Dutch referee is just keeping a beady eye on proceedings as in it comes, and Ruben Dias got the header. It was directed straight at the goalkeeper Blažević.
Great movement, really good run from Dias. Just starts from deep and runs across the face of the defender, gets the glancing header, but straight at Blažević, and comfortable save in the end. But nice free kick, corner, nice set piece, good delivery into the box with the in-swinger.
Sira Gujabuyuk is the Dutch referee who's taking charge of this game here live in Leipzig, live on BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds, as Werner turns and plays the ball forward, and it's with Forsberg. Forsberg switches play. Joining the attack is Klosterman with the cross just over the head of a leaping Silva, and then touched behind by Akanji, out of play for a throw.
It's just one touch too many from Klosterman. Didn't need the final touch before the cross. It was lovely play, spread out wide by Forsberg. He gets it out of his feet, Klosterman. If he crosses it early, I think he's going to win the header, Silva. He just has an extra touch. I think Silva's offside anyway, because he held on far too long to the ball. It's a shame he couldn't put it in earlier.
Yeah, you're right, Matt. He was offside, and a free kick has been taken, and Akanji's now at a walking pace as it now develops into a trot midway through his own half, as we've been playing for a quarter of an hour, and it remains goalless. Here is Bernardo Silva dropping deep. Forsberg is tracking in, the vastly experienced Swedish international, who's really been instrumental in Leipzig's rise. Joined the club in 2015, so it's his 9th season. And just in case you weren't aware of the history of RB Leipzig, they bought out a club called Markranstadt in 2009, and they worked their way through the system from the 5th tier in 2009 to Bundesliga in 2016, and then since then in the top flight they've finished 2nd, 6th, 2 third place finishes, 2nd and then 4th last year. So 4th last year was actually their lowest finish in 4 years. Wouldn't necessarily say they're a popular club in other parts of Germany because of the franchise and the money that's been behind their rise. I do recall Timo Werner being booed in Dortmund when he once played for Germany against England, but he's back here in a second spell as Grealish picks up this ball and makes a diagonal run and then is taken out. And that surely will result in a yellow card, one would imagine, because the Dutch referee has given City the free kick. It was Schlager who just deliberately seemed to foul him.
I just love the position Jack Grealish took up there. He made a really positive diagonal run straight into the centre of the pitch towards the 18-yard box. Good pass inside from Gundogan, I think it was, but that's what we want. That's where you want to see Jack Grealish, isn't it? Using his pace, using that trickery to go inside the pitch and run at defenders, and he certainly did that there.
Didn't see any action taken though against Schlager, the Austrian international. No. But it's a central position, it's just outside the D. It'll be a direct free kick for Manchester City. So this really is a worrying time for Leipzig. They have every white shirt back in their own penalty area. You've got Mahrez or Gundogan, the right foot of Gundogan or the left foot of Mahrez. It is fractionally left of centre, but it's just outside the D. Manchester City looking to threaten. It is Mahrez, left-footed, into the wall, blocked by Leipzig, who break, and then the ball goes back towards the halfway line and knocked forward by Bernardo Silva, and then Kyle Walker back to Mahrez. But Manchester City seeing so much of the ball in these opening 17 minutes as Ake is played in on the left-hand side, and Grealish once again holds the width. And Leipzig are doing so much chasing. What about England's women? They're at home to Belgium. Chris Coles.
England 1, Belgium 0. The scoreline not reflective of the Lionesses' dominance. They look dangerous every time they come forward. Millie Bright has just headed an excellent chance over the bar. Belgium yet to string 3 passes together, let alone threaten the England goal. All very comfortable. England 1, Belgium 0, 32 minutes played.
Manchester City are attacking, and the cross goes low in towards Rodri, and he hits it first time right-footed, and he's skied it over the top and out for a goal kick. Incidentally, England-Belgium commentary of that is on Sports Extra. This is BBC Radio 5 Live. We've been playing for 18 minutes. It's Leipzig 0, Manchester City 0, and this is the voice of Mass Upson.
Well, if ever, Deno, you want to go to an away ground that's quite hostile, like you say, it might not be big across Germany, this club, but locally you get that real sense of community here, don't you? It's big for the town or the city of Leipzig, and they've just come here and silenced the crowd, Manchester City, with how well they've used the ball. Total control in terms of possession. And Leipzig barely having a kick at the moment.
And bearing in mind, this is a Leipzig side that has had just 1 defeat in 20 games since mid-September. And that was actually against Union Berlin. And you reminded me of one of the players who was missing was Willy Orban. And he missed it for a very good reason. He was actually undergoing blood stem cell donation to potentially save a life as somebody who's got blood cancer. I mean, that was, if ever there was a worthwhile reason to miss a game, then that was it from the Hungarian defender. But that's been a hell of a run that they've put together.
Massive, isn't it? I mean, I think it's something like 34 points from 16 games or in the Bundesliga, which from a rocky start to the season has really propelled them back up to the top 4 or top 5 competing anyway. 4 points off the lead, I think they are.
Yeah, you're right.
And Manchester City have just rolled into town and gone, no, okay, we'll just have the ball and we'll control this game, thank you.
And during that 20-match spell where they've only had that 1 defeat, they've failed to score once as well, and that was Cologne away in a goalless draw. So they are a side who are used to scoring. So that's something again that Manchester City, I'm sure, will be mindful of. But at the minute, it is all Manchester City.
I mean, especially in the Champions League as well. They've had some high-scoring games, haven't they, in their group, with Shakhtar at home to Madrid,
Yes.
3-2.
Yeah.
You know, they've scored a lot of goals in the Champions League this season.
Yeah. Well, they actually had to come from losing their opening 2 games in the group stages. So they've won their last 4, and including, as you say, beating Real Madrid by 3-2 here. Here is Ruben Dias inside the centre circle. 20 minutes played, it remains 0-0. Ake on the halfway line, forward to Rodri, square out towards the left touch line, where Marco Rosa, the former Salzburg, Borussia Mönchengladbach and Borussia Dortmund coach, stands, and indeed he's got experience of facing City in this stage. He was in charge of Borussia Mönchengladbach and he lost both legs by 2-0, so he will be more than aware of the threat and the quality that Manchester City possess. As City with Ruben Dias outside the centre circle of his own half on what feels like a mild night inside the glowing arena with its red lights in the roof all around this futuristic stadium, which actually was the only one located in the former East Germany to be used when for the World Cup back in 2006 as Akanji. Now with Mahrez, back with Akanji once again. Leipzig just doing a lot of chasing at the minute. They can't get hold of the ball.
It's unbelievable dominance of possession. It really is for away from home. And I think the way they've set up, we talk about how Manchester City have changed this season in terms of game to game. And again, you're just seeing something slightly different with how they're setting up here. They're just finding a spare man with the ball all the time, and a lot of the time it's Bernardo Silva, who's in a central role today, but he's dropping quite deep, isn't he? And then he's filling in, he's just popping up all over the pitch, and Rodri is a bit more solid in the middle there, but you know, Kyle Walker high on the right, all of a sudden now he's in the kind of inside wing position, and Mahrez is dropping deep. We've got Ake out on the left, Gundogan now high and wide on the left. They're just rotating all over the place.
Well, the stats obviously are changing all the time, but the latest one in the Champions League was saying that City have had 211 passes, 205 have been completed in comparison to 54 of Leipzig. The only thing you'd say about that is that Manchester City is here as Rodri in a central area, passes the ball out to Ake. Now with Gundogan, is that they haven't really created.
No.
We're midway through the first half, and Blažević hasn't been extended.
If this was a keep ball session, it would be over by now. It's done. You know, you've got your 500 passes and it would be finished. I mean, some teams only get 250 to 300 passes in a game.
Yeah.
I mean, the numbers are incredible, and you know, a lot of that's due to the fact that Leipzig are happy with that. They're not too fussed as long as they're not giving away chances.
Mahrez to Rodri. Rodri then quickly releases it to Ake, who joins the attack, passes the ball forward to Grealish. Grealish just in from the left touchline. Ake sweeps over the first time cross. Downward header, tucked in there was Halstenberg, the left back. Picked up now by Schlager, gives the ball away. Certainly when Leipzig get it, they've then got to retain it, otherwise they've got a problem.
Or that ball's got to go in behind into the space and Werner's gone. You know, it's either retain it or it's a really quick ball down the side and you've got Werner or Szoboszlai or Silva running into that channel to start the counter-attack.
Walker combines with Gundogan, back to Walker round the back, fires over the cross, headed out by Lima. And now with Werner, who gives the ball away again. And you can see the frustration there. That was from Lima, who just opened up his arms in the midfield as that ball from Werner was hit too quickly. Certainly, they don't seem too undaunted, the Leipzig supporters, remaining behind their side, continuing to jump up and down in unison as now they sway from side to side, offering the vocal support. But they're seeing their side, at the minute, hardly get a touch.
There's a slight little groan there from the fans, maybe. They're used to seeing at least one little surge of counter-attacking football by now, I'm sure.
Well, here he's back with Ruben Dias to Rodri. So pleasing on the eye and passing the ball well, lacking a little bit of penetration, but patience if we're to keep the words going with a little bit of not quite alliteration, but they just need to be patient, Manchester City, to create that one opportunity, but without a doubt they are the team who are bossing this game 25 minutes in. It remains 0-0 on BBC Radio 5 Live. Tomorrow night from 8 o'clock, Manchester United against Barcelona. Peter Schmeichel joining Alistair Bruce Ball at Old Trafford. Commentary build up from 7 in 5 Live Sport. 8 o'clock, of course, is the kick-off as the ball is floated up towards Mahrez. It was floated that much in the air. Mahrez was waiting for it to settle, and actually was in an offside position, so it'll be a free kick to Leipzig. And on Saturday, I can tell you that Bournemouth-Manchester City is on Sports Extra, because Wales-England in the Six Nations will have commentary after we've brought you Leicester City-Arsenal and the usual goal service on Saturday afternoon. But 25 minutes here in the Champions League, it remains 0-0.
It was interesting the way that they keep the ball as well, Manchester City. They kind of do it without a number 9 as well, because Haaland doesn't really get too involved in the possession, does he? I mean, he's not showing to feet a lot and wanting to drop in and link up play. He's very much happy just to stay along that line and stretch the defence and be ready to go in behind. So they have that certain amount of control without even using their number 9 really to keep the ball. It's very impressive.
England are still leading Belgium by 1-0 in the Arnold Clark Cup. Commentary of that is on Sports Extra. In the Northern Area final of the EFL Trophy, Accrington 0, Bolton Wanderers 0, as Grealish picks up on a loose ball. Grealish threads it through, it might run through towards Mahrez, and Mahrez shoots first time left-footed and beats Blasvich with ease. It was an emphatic finish by Mahrez. That was the opportunity that Manchester City have been waiting for, and boy did Mahrez take it. 1-0.
Well, they have just absolutely ground down Leipzig for this goal. Manchester City. It's forced an error in midfield from Schlager. Really loose pass that Grealish just pounces on quickly, does really well, slips the ball with his right foot along the path of Mahrez. It then goes through the legs of Guardiol. So there's a player in his way. I think it's Gundogan gets in the way of Guardiol, and it's a simple finish for Mahrez just to slot it into the corner under no pressure. But it's all about the relentlessness of Manchester City in this opening 26-27 minutes. They've just bossed this game and really worn down that midfield of Leipzig, and it's Schlager with the mistake that just gives the turnover in such a bad area.
He turned 32 yesterday, Riyad Mahrez. His 12th goal of the season constitutes a late birthday present. Certainly it was a gift in the way that Schlager gave the ball away, but 2 or 3 times they've been sloppy in possession, have been Leipzig, and they find themselves a goal down. It's meant to say as well, Sean McConville sent off for Accrington, so the right to play Plymouth at Wembley, and Bolton Wanderers have the numerical advantage in that game against Accrington. But here it's Manchester City who have the advantage, and it's thoroughly deserved.
It is. I mean, I've just seen Kyle Walker knock it round Halstenberg and get it the other side again on the halfway line. I mean, they just look so free, Manchester City. And Kyle Walker's playing like a right winger. Loads of space. I mean, it's an impressive start to the game, Deno, isn't it, from a team that just looking absolute superior control.
So impressive. As Gundogan is dispossessed, Klosterman has given the ball away. He's presented straight towards Walker, his opposite right back, who runs forward, and Walker enters the penalty area, and then his cross, he's just tried to dink it into the path of Gundogan, and then running back, it was just turned behind for a corner kick. But Manchester City there were almost in for a second.
Yeah, they're just forcing errors just from their dominance and the positions they're taking up. When the ball turns into Leipzig, they're just not set up to receive it, are they? And they're handing it straight back to City.
We've been playing for nearly half an hour, and Manchester City are 1-0 up. And Mahrez is going to take a corner kick far side the right. Referee's just having a word, I think it was with Lima, for a little bit of pushing inside that penalty area. Mahrez waits, corner kick comes in, far side the right. Rodri far post, totally unmarked, got round the back. His header goes across the face of goal, and out for a goal kick. Another goal in the Arnold Clark Cup. Chris Coles.
Just as Riyad Mahrez was scoring with you, Leo Williamson was scoring here at Ashton Gate to give England a 2-0 lead. Lucy Bronze cross, Williamson header, England in complete control. 2-0 up as we enter the last minute of the first half.
Commentary of that continues on Sports Extra. It's hard to see a way in for this game for Leipzig on the balance of what we've witnessed for these 30 minutes so far. Manchester City are so superior.
They're just all over them. Leipzig cannot get out of their own 18-yard box practically. They're trying to find passes, but out of possession as well. They're just so set up to just cover all bases, and they're happy to leave certain areas of the pitch free. They'll concentrate on the areas they know that Leipzig want to go through. But it's a perfectly set up plan from Pep Guardiola at the moment with the way this game started.
Half-time now, England's women, Chris.
England have a 2-goal lead over Belgium. Chloe Kelly's tap-in, created by Lauren James, once again has looked a real threat. Leah Williamson adding a second just before the break. This is more than enough for England, who just need to avoid defeat to lift the Arnold Clark Cup again. England 2, Belgium 0.
And Manchester City here with 14 minutes to go to half-time. Through that Mahrez goal, are 1-0 up. They've got to throw deep inside their own half. Sorry, Matt.
It's one of those games that there's not that much to shout about in terms of goal-mouth action. But, you know, you're just sitting here watching it, you can only just be impressed by what they're doing, you know, and how they're going about it, and the subtlety and the passing and the movement and all the rest of it, and the ability to keep that kind of possession.
Grealish has gone down. He's just been caught by Klosterman. It was accidental, but he's got a blow to what looks like his... Is there a cut on his... No, there's already a cut there on his left knee. It's actually a blow to his opposite, his right knee, as he's gone down with the German international defender. Bearing in mind that they're missing De Bruyne and Laporte through illness. They might not be back for the trip to Bournemouth at the weekend. They'll hope this is nothing serious.
No, he couldn't have hurt his calf muscle, could he? He's indestructible, aren't they?
Those bulging calves. Well, he's getting treatment down below. Pep Guardiola taking advantage of this in the break in play, just to have a word with Bernardo Silva. Actually, what we've seen so far, the biggest threat to City's dominance in this game could be City themselves if they were to get complacent or just lose the control. Because if they maintain the standards that they played with in these opening 32 minutes, they're going to, you would think, come out winners. You would,
but you see it time and time again, where sometimes it's luck, sometimes it's a loose ball, sometimes it bumps off someone's shin in a tackle and pops out into an area, and all of a sudden they're onto it. And that's what Leipzig do. So yes, they must feel a little bit suffocated at the moment in terms of just not being able to get out, and just wave after wave of having to be disciplined, move, tune into all the different areas of the pitch that the City players are in. But they're the type of team that can hurt you even though they haven't had the ball for long periods of the game.
Schlager plays the ball forward. That was well over the head of Halstenberg, kept in play by Ederson. And that was the first opportunity, actually, where we've seen Leipzig have the ball in the City half, and City then, out of possession, had gone to a very tight and flat back four.
Yeah, it's changing. Certainly when they've got the ball, they look like more of a three because Walker's so high. I was just looking at it. It's interesting how Pep Guardiola always calls over Bernardo Silva, doesn't he? It's like he's just so impressed by his ability to be, his football intelligence, it looks like, and he's the one always getting these different little orders and chats on the sideline, isn't he? He's such an integral part of how they play at the moment.
Well, he's certainly had an integral role of late. Grealish, by the way, is okay. He's back on the field and running freely. We've got about 11 minutes to go to half-time here on BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds, where Manchester City lead by 1-0. Leipzig go all the way back. Their keeper, Blasvish, actually gets himself into a bit of a tangle. Gvardiol managed to get away from it, and now all of a sudden they'll run forward, Leipzig, on that left-hand side. Then the ball from Gvardiol goes over the head of Andre Silva. So Boslav will run at Ake, but Ake's tied it up back towards Ederson. Of course, normally you'd have Peter the Wall, the vastly experienced Hungarian international keeper, in goal for Leipzig, but he's been out early since October with an ACL injury. Actually hasn't been included in the Champions League squad, although, to be fair, goalkeepers can be recalled within 24 hours of a Champions League match. But Galacci's going to be out for a long term, so the 31-year-old keeper, who was signed in the summer, is getting a regular run for Leipzig this season. But there is so much to ponder for Marco Rose, the coach of Leipzig at the moment, as Manchester City are dictating this game. 10 minutes to go to half-time, leading by a 1-0.
I mean, the one thing they do have, they have a good bench, don't they, Leipzig? They've got players that are at a good level and are really at match sharpness, that feature a lot in the starting 11, along with especially Nkunku.
Here is Bernardo Silva running onto the ball. It was collected in from Mahrez, back to his feet. Bernardo Silva has done well. He passes it to Grealish unmarked. Grealish comes inside, and goes close. Just inside the penalty area, pushed it out from underneath him, and then right-footed, just inside the penalty area, central position, hits it, curling effort just over the top of the crossbar, goal kick. City lead 1-0.
Yeah, it's hard to see how far that was over the bar, but Bernardo Silva doing so well to hold on to the ball. He goes to ground, manages to get up and keep the ball. And just looking at that replay and the reaction of Pep Guardiola, that was probably only about a foot or so over the crossbar, nearly curling into the top corner.
Ball looking to try and get Andre Silva in from behind, but it's been cut out by Ruben Dias. They certainly have posed little threat so far of Leipzig. Bernardo Silva, who scored at the weekend with a fine goal at Nottingham Forest. It was his first goal in 29, the longest spell of his career to take his tally just to 3 for the season. But he would have got a valuable assist with handy work on the right-hand side of the penalty area had Grealish found the target to increase City's lead as we edge our way towards half-time. Ruben Dias to Akanji, and the possession has increased. 76% is that, and 6 shots and nothing as yet from Leipzig. 9.
Just over 100 passes to Manchester City's, what, 300 and near 50 odd.
I'd like to see those stats at the end.
I know, it's going to,
if it continues the way it is.
It could break records at the moment, couldn't it, when you think about it? I mean, I don't know what the record is for the most passes in a game, but
no.
Anyway,
yeah, we'll move on. As you say, it'll be broken anyway. Sometimes it's a little bit like XG, isn't it? You know, the main factor is the scoreline, and City are leading by a 1-0 as Schlager picks up a loose ball midway through his own half, and along the ground it's just cut out by a sliding Walker. Tried to get Werner away down that left touchline. That's where Werner likes to loiter.
They've not done that well enough in this game, and you don't need the ball to do that. That's the point. But their passing when it's turned over just hasn't been good enough. It hasn't been positive enough for me from Leipzig. They haven't got Werner or Szoboszlai or Silva peeling down those channels, because there is space there when they turn the ball over.
Here is Grealish running in behind Klosterman on this near side, the left. City lead by a 1-0, playing from right to left. Back to Gundogan, the City captain. Now to Rodri just outside the centre circle. Akanji's able to turn to Bernardo Silva. He runs away from Werner, then away from Forsberg. Finds Gundogan just over the halfway line. But is that because they're being forced back by Walker on the right-hand side and Ake and Grealish on this near side, the left?
Maybe, but there's still space there, and it's just about being a bit more positive. I think they're a little bit shell-shocked, if I'm honest. And now it's got to the point where Manchester City have just got control of it.
Ball is out now to Grealish. Grealish on the attack, enters the penalty area, wins a corner kick, positive play. Corner kick to Manchester City, 6 minutes to go to half-time. Pep Guardiola, I noticed down below, was applauding with his hands above his head as Mahrez now comes across, walking over to take the corner. Mahrez in no real hurry, the City goal scorer, with just over 5 minutes to the break. Mahrez retrieves the ball himself, places it in the quadrant, and there are 2, 4, 6 red and black shirts to aim for Riyad Mahrez. going to be an out-swinging corner, near side the left-footed, in it goes now, and the header is off target. It was Rodri again who'd got himself on the end of it, couldn't keep it down. Still 1-0 City.
The second time they've got the first contact though, Deno, off the set piece. And it was Rodri this time, Ruben Diaz the first one, but they look threatening from corners at the moment, and Leipzig aren't really getting to grips with this City team at all. They're not being physical, they're not really laying a glove on them at the moment, and I think that will be a big part of Marco Rose's team talk, to be honest. You know, you can set up and you can have styles and what have you, but he needs to see a little bit more from his team in terms of unsettling Manchester City.
Halstenberg now gets forward on that far side the left, but his arcing cross was well over the head of Timo Werner, and whilst it's been kept in play, Ake on the edge of his own penalty area will play it short and forward towards Rodri, and Manchester City can bring the ball out of defence. And Mahrez collects it midway through his own half, over the halfway line. He has Walker ahead of him on that far side, goes back inside just outside the centre circle to Rodri, sweeps it with a nonchalant right-footed pass towards Ake, and now to Grealish in Manchester City, where it seems they found the majority of this first half back in the Leipzig half of the field. And then Gundogan keeps it in play by his chest back towards Ake once more. 4 minutes to go to half time. Ruben Diaz to Akanji. The only thing is, if you were to use, and I was there at the City Ground at the weekend, that is a template, and the words of Steve Cooper when he said we knew we'd get one opportunity, you would think that Leipzig might just get that one opportunity, and that's what Manchester City have to be mindful of.
But why did Forest get the opportunity? Because they were probably aggressive.
Yeah, they changed it.
Yeah. And at the moment, like I just said, the one criticism I look at with Leipzig, that they're not being aggressive enough. I've not seen anyone really going for a tackle or kick someone or be direct or be decisive. You don't need the ball for that. And I just think it's been a little bit, whether it's shell shock, they're just a little bit passive to what you normally expect from this team.
Yeah. The difference being, of course, to stay in the tie, they've got to it's the second leg. You know, even if they were to lose 1-0 tonight, they're still technically in the tie, whereas Forest obviously in the last 20 minutes did go more for it.
But you've got to play the game, haven't you? Do you know what I mean? I think that is part of it, but you can't allow that to control the way, you can't allow that to hold back on the pitch and not put it all out there. And I think in this first half so far, they haven't given the account of themselves that they know they can.
3 minutes to go to half-time. You might not necessarily be able to win a place in the quarter-finals with the first leg, but you can certainly lose it. And Leipzig at the minute are been second best throughout, as Manchester City are looking to reach a quarter-final for a 6th successive season. Bernardo Silva chips the ball to Ake. Forward, Gundogan short of the halfway line, turns away from Szoboszlai. All the threats from Leipzig have been completely negated because of Manchester City's dominance. We haven't seen anything of Werner on the left, nothing of Szoboszlai on the right. Forsberg, who plays in behind Andre Silva. There has been nothing whatsoever for this team, who, when they recently lost to Union Berlin, a surprise package if you like in the Bundesliga, that 11-match unbeaten home run coming to an end. But here it's Manchester City who are forward, and Grealish finds Gundogan, left-hand side of the penalty area. Gundogan tried to cut it back first time. Hardly mentioned Haaland, have we?
He hasn't touched it. And they've had all this dominance without using their number 9.
Yeah.
And so as a centre-back, and this is the conundrum with Haaland, as a centre-back, you don't feel like you've been in a game. But then there'll be a moment in this match where the right thing will happen at the right time, and he'll slide into the area and he'll score. And it's impossible to play against almost, because you can't really lay a glove on him.
Just detecting just a few grumbles there. The ball was up to Timo Werner. Again, he couldn't hold it midway through the City half as Walker is pulled down. And that was Andre Silva. Interesting just to keep an eye on that dynamic, bearing in mind that it was Walker who got sent off for kicking out at Silva in the group stages last season. Whether that was a sign of frustration. No foul on Gundogan from Szoboszlai. Schlager, with his blonde ponytail, lifts it forward to Timo Werner, turns 30 yards out from goal, forward ball. Lima couldn't get there, and there are a few more groans from the German support.
But you know, when Werner turned out there, straight away I heard the groan, and it's like, that's not his game. Don't turn out. You get that ball, your first touch is forwards into the space. And do you know what? If he loses it doing that, I don't think you hear a groan, because he's trying to be positive and decisive and get behind Manchester City, run at someone. And that's the point I'm making about the mentality of where they're at now. They've been kind of suppressed almost into this mode of not now being decisive or aggressive or positive with their choices, because they've had to cover so much distance in this first half because the amount of shuffling they've done, because of the lack of possession they've had. I mean, it's going to start to take its toll as you get an hour or so into the game.
Well, we're going to have just the 1 minute of additional time, which we're now into, that additional minimum of 60 seconds. Manchester City had to be patient. Really, when the Mahrez goal came after 26 minutes, it was the first proper opportunity at goal, but then since then, Rodri's had a far post header that's gone across the face of goal, and Grealish, with a curling effort, has gone close too. So the lead could easily have been extended against a Leipzig side that have posed no threat whatsoever to Ederson's goal away towards our right-hand side. And very, very soon the Dutch referee will reach for his whistle, and Pep Guardiola will be a very contented manager on the evidence of the first 45 minutes that we've seen. The Schlager tries to win the ball in midfield, gets away from Bernardo Silva, can't thread it through, comes back to Lima, finds Forsberg to Timo Werner. First real sign of a threat from Leipzig. It's with Werner inside the penalty area, and it's caught by Ederson just moving away towards his left. That's their first shot on target.
Well, much better, more positive, tame effort in the end from Werner, comfortable for Ederson, but at least they finished the first half with a little bit of a flurry and a shot on target.
And that is the end of the first half. The whistle has sounded. That Mahrez goal, well taken after 26 minutes, is the difference, but Manchester City in complete control. And then that first evidence of Leipzig, and Timo Werner with a tame effort saved by Ederson. Half-time in the Red Bull Arena here in Leipzig. It's RB Leipzig 0, Manchester City 1. Mark?
They have made that look so comfortable, Matt, haven't they?
Yeah, you have to credit them, chappers. I mean, it's just been an amazing performance. Maybe Pep will feel that this was a perfect first 45 minutes of football away from home in the Champions League, because it can't be far off. The way they've just literally took the sting out of the game from the first whistle to total dominance, to scoring a goal, looking dangerous from set pieces and giving very little away. I mean, out of possession they've been good. It's just been a masterclass of passing and moving.
What do Leipzig do?
Good question.
Because it's not.
Yeah.
By saying City are comfortable, it's not necessarily a criticism of Leipzig.
No, it isn't. But the only criticism I would have is that when that ball turns over, they have to be ready to hit those channels quicker. I think trying to have the ball at that moment, they're so spread, they've been working so hard to win it back, and they're not set up in their shape to retain possession, which is why it's turning over so quickly. I think they've got to be a bit more aggressive with the players in wide areas or Silva down the middle, and be able to get down the sides and just try and hit Manchester City in the space and at least turn them and run them backwards, and then see what comes from that, because at the moment it's just complete and utter control.
Former England captain Steph Houghton with us as well. Do you think, Steph, there's an element of Leipzig thinking, well, when we do win it back, if we try to hit the channels and don't keep hold of it, then we're just going to give it straight back to them?
Yeah, I think the way that City are playing and the control that City have had, they, even on the turnovers when Leipzig getting the ball, I think City are then first to put pressure on them and to stifle their chances of going forward. But I do agree with Matt in terms of there has been chances where they can hit the runners and hit the channels, especially when Kyle Walker's so far up and giving City the width. But yeah, it's been a totally commanding performance from City, and I think they need to learn from the weekend in terms of it's 1-0, it's a dangerous scoreline, because Leipzig are going to have to change something at half-time.
So, Are we also saying be slightly braver in your positioning then, Steph, if from a Leipzig? If Kyle Walker is high up, then take that risk. Put your wide man further up the field so it gives Walker something to think about?
Yeah, I think for Walker, I think he's been really impressive in the first half in terms of going forward, but they haven't really exploited behind him. And I think if you see someone that's hugging the touchline behind you, you're going to have to think twice before you go forward. So it could be a plan for Leipzig to try and get Kyle Walker back into that back four, because at the moment it looks like a back three with him attacking and helping Mahrez up front.
Thank you for the moment. Steph, goalless between Inter and Porto in the other Champions League last 16 tie. It's the Northern Area final in the EFL Trophy this evening. Goalless at half-time there between Accrington, Stanley and Bolton, although Accrington have been down to 10 men since midway through that first half. The second half is underway in the Arnold Clark Cup, and Chris, England have just extended their lead.
They have. It's now 3-0 over Belgium. That scoreline much more reflective of the way they've dominated this game, Mark. Chloe Kelly, second goal, shot from the right, well saved. Kelly on hand to tap in, and we can safely say now that England are retaining the Arnold Clark Cup with 5 minutes played in the second half. They have a 3-goal lead over Belgium.
Steph, have England been as comfortable as Manchester City have been?
Yeah, pretty much. I think in terms of the goals that they've scored, that goal there that Chloe just scored was probably a mistake from the keeper, but in terms of dominance and crosses and shots, I think England from the first 5-10 minutes have really dominated the game so far.
For the moment, Steph, thank you very much. Tomorrow night we're going to bring you Manchester United against Barcelona in the Europa League. We'll talk more about that after the latest BBC News at 9 minutes to 9.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
And with the 5 Live News, I'm Tim Daly. The Defence Secretary Ben Wallace says he's pleased Shamima Begum has lost her appeal against the decision to strip her of her British citizenship. The 23-year-old left East London when she was 15 to join the Islamic State group. An immigration appeals court found there was credible evidence she was trafficked to Syria, but also decided that factor did not overrule national security concerns. Tesco and Aldi have joined Asda and Morrisons in limiting the amount of certain fruit and veg customers can buy because of supply problems. The problems mostly being blamed on severe weather in Spain and North Africa. Tim O'Malley runs one of the UK's biggest fresh produce companies.
With these extreme weather patterns that we're continuing to get, the problem is that is becoming flawed. On the continent, it tends to be more of a monthly pricing situation. The retailers abroad, they're buying more on a spot price, more on a wholesale market monthly price, and therefore they're getting more produce than the UK.
Lancashire's Police and Crime Commissioner has asked the College of Policing to carry out an independent review of the handling of the Nicola Bulley case. The force took more than 3 weeks to find the body of the missing mother of 2 and was criticised for releasing her personal details. More than 30,000 health workers who are members of Unison are to strike across England on the 8th of March. They include nurses, ambulance staff and also hospital porters. And the Office for National Statistics has revealed data from the 2021 census. It's suggesting the number of people in England and Wales who've never married has continued to rise. Nearly 4 in 10 adults have never been married or in a civil partnership. That's up from 3 in 10 at the start of the century. And that's the 5 Live News.
BBC 5 Live.
The EFL Cup Final.
2 massive clubs make their long-awaited returns to Wembley as Manchester United take on Newcastle United.
Cross towards the far post. Rashford attacks it across goal, and it's tucked in.
Finals, you play them to win. It's not an achievement to come into a final.
Shoots and scores. That is just what the Geordies wanted.
And whatever will be. They'll be going to Wembley.
The EFL Cup Final, Sunday from 4:30 on 5 Live and BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sport with Mark Chapman.
And before the League Cup final, Manchester United have the second leg of their Europa League tie against Barcelona at Old Trafford tomorrow night. Full commentary here on 5 Live. 2-2 after the first leg. Erik ten Hag says he's been preparing for both games coming up by having dinner with Sir Alex Ferguson.
Always enjoy it to speak with people who have a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience. He wants to share it, and so he wants to help, he wants to support. You feel Manchester United is his club. He feels so committed. It was a great night. I'm looking forward for next night with him. But yeah, we have the opportunity, but the first focus point the next game, and in that league we can't win the trophy this week, but especially we have to keep in the same mindset, and that every day we want to give a better version of ourselves. Tomorrow we have to give the best performance from this season, and we believe in it. Looking forward to it, so it gives a lot of energy. It will be a massive atmosphere, and that I think is the best you can get.
Laurie Whitwell covers United for The Athletic and joins us now. Everybody wants more of the same after that first leg, don't they?
Yeah, it was a bit of a thriller, really. Bit of a throwback to those games in 98-99 that ended 3-3, both at Old Trafford and in the Nou Camp. Yeah, both teams going for it, quite open. I think Rafa Varane today at the press conference spoke about how he felt it was a good game, to be a part of. So I think everyone's hoping that it's more of the same at Old Trafford.
Are United more open at the moment? They were open against Leicester on Sunday as well.
Yeah, I don't think that's what Erik ten Hag wanted. He was quite angry, animated on the touchline in the first sort of 20 minutes when Leicester kept tearing through. And I think, if United give up those opportunities to Barcelona, you kind of feel like, a striker like Robert Lewandowski will put at least one away. So it is evenly poised. But I do feel like United have got, I don't know, a sort of a unison about them, a kind of creative teamwork that actually they can sort of figure out different moments of games and sort of bring different kind of chances to the table. So I think they'll be okay. And even if the match goes away from them a little bit, I think they'll be able to figure it out.
Chris Hutton was being his usual argumentative self on Monday, and despite the positive chat on Manchester United, was then talking about, well, at the end of this week they could be out of the Europa League and lose the League Cup final. And yet Manchester United fans were replying to him on the show by saying, well, actually, it's bigger than that at the moment.
Yeah, I think that people can see that there's a something building under Erik ten Hag, and he seems very calm in press conferences. I think he understands that these are two huge games. I mean, if they go and beat Barcelona and beat Newcastle, I think that's a rubber stamp on what a brilliant first season he's had. Yeah, it could go the other way. Chris is right, obviously. It could be sort of the champagne could be put back on ice. But I feel like it is beyond that. It feels like he's got a group of players here that understand their roles, and he's been so good with the discipline that I think the sort of the building blocks are there in place for future success.
All right, Laurie, thank you very much. Laurie Whitwell, who covers United for The Athletic. Back to the Champions League shortly, where it's RB Leipzig 0, Manchester City 1. At the break earlier this evening, it was announced that Wales' Six Nations game against England will go ahead on Saturday. Talks were held today after the Welsh players had threatened to strike over a contract dispute. The Wales captain is Ken Owens, and he says the team will be ready to go on Saturday, but admits there are still frustrations among the players.
Welsh rugby can't keep going on this merry-go-round of crisis after crisis, because it's affecting everybody in the game. Players, supporters, administrators, grassroots clubs and everybody. With the events of the last 6 to 8 weeks, I think everybody in Welsh rugby really need to pull together now to find the best way forward, and we need to do it collaboratively together to put Welsh rugby back at the top end of world rugby and not the laughingstock, which I think we are at the moment, and I think we can do that with the collaboration that's been agreed.
Full commentary of Wales against England in the Six Nations on Saturday from 4:45. Scotland, of course, have beaten both of those sides. They next play away in France. That's on Sunday. And their centre, Sione Tuipulotu, says there's a real buzz within the squad.
Any camp's better when you're winning. You're coming in Monday morning and, everything's just a little bit more relaxed. But to be honest, after we beat England, I think certain parts of camp have been really intense, and we can mix up our game with however we want to play. Depending on what type of team we're playing, and I think that plays to our strength and environment. That we're not satisfied after 1 or 2 wins. We want to keep going and play to our potential. So it is happy in a happy environment considering we're winning, but at the same time it's pretty intense just because we want to get out of this tournament what we think we're capable of.
One boxing story for you, it's quite a big one as well. Conor Benn is to return to the WBC rankings after they deemed his highly elevated consumption of eggs a reasonable explanation for a failed drugs test last year. Now, Benn remains under investigation by the British Boxing Board of Control, meaning that he's not at the moment licensed to box in the UK, but that he can now compete in another country. John O'Shea has been announced as an assistant coach for the Republic of Ireland, and it was another marathon match for Andy Murray at the Qatar Open. It took over 3 hours for him to beat Alex Zverev in the round of 16. Waiting for both sides to come out in Germany, where Manchester City lead RB Leipzig by 1-0. And Steph Horton, we heard them say in commentary, they've done all of this and they've dominated possession, and Erling Haaland's barely had a touch.
Yeah, it's fascinating, I think, for someone that we speak about every single match, for him to not get involved as much as probably we all like to see. It can be. I'm sure he is frustrated, but I think on the other side of things, I think he occupies 2 centre-halves because of his physical presence, and that allows Mahrez, Grealish, Kyle Walker to get on the ball and to make forward runs.
And actually, Matt Upson, in commentary you said because they're playing without a centre forward, and you mean that because he's not playing that role of what you would expect a number 9 to do in this system.
It's not his job. It's as simple as that. It's just not his role and job in the team. And you can't have somebody that deadly and that decisive in front of goal that probably wants to link up play and drop into those areas. He doesn't need to. He's got Gundogan in there, Bernardo Silva, all the clever midfield players, Mahrez tucking in. He stays away. And Grealish has the ball. He just almost looks at it and goes, well, I'm not going to get involved in that. I'll just peel away. And then he's looking for a rebound off the goalkeeper. He's looking for a little pass that might get slipped through someone's legs. That's the edge that he has. He's only interested in one thing. And it's why his stats are unbelievable.
I should learn my lesson from doing this, Steph, but in the past, you praise a Manchester City player for looking amazing, being in a great run of form, and then you find them they're on the bench for the next 2 months or someone else comes in. But Mahrez and Grealish are just phenomenal at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment in terms of the way that they attack, the assists that they're getting, the goals that they're scoring, I think we would probably never predicted that they would be Pep's preferred wing players. I think Foden would have been in with the shout, and now he's struggling to get in the team. But I think what Mahrez and Grealish do is they attract players, they take players on, and by doing that there's always someone spare with the likes of Gundogan and Bernardo and Kyle Walker to give the ball to. So especially in this game they've been driving forward, attacking players, and with Mahrez in the goal he's been clinical.
Steph, again, thank you. We will talk at full time. Let's head back to Germany. By the way, it's goalless into Porto as that gets underway, and England's women lead Belgium by 3-0. 5 Live final score on the red button, the iPlayer, and the BBC Sport website and app if you want the video printer and the graphics alongside the commentary from Matt Upson and Ian Dennis.
Thanks, Mark. Leipzig are going to make a change at the start of the second half. Manchester City are only now emerging from the tunnel down below. Leipzig have been out for a good 2 minutes or so, all in white. And Benjamin Henrichs is going to be coming on. He's on loan from Monaco. He's a German international, although to be fair, his 7 caps have been spread over a 6-year period. And he replaces Lucas Klosterman. So they'll have Blaswich in goal, Henrichs, Orban, Gvardiol and Halstenberg as a defence, Schlager and Liner with Szoboszlai, Forsberg and Werner behind Andre Silva, all in white. And Leipzig in the second half will be playing from right to left as we look against Manchester City in their red and black tops and black shorts, who have made no changes. Leipzig get us back underway. Edison in goal for City, Walker, Akanji, Diaz and Ake the defence, Gundogan, Rodri, Bernardo Silva the midfield, Mahrez, Haaland and Grealish are the front three. And Manchester City therefore are playing from left to right. You're listening to BBC Radio 5 Live. We're available on the BBC Sounds app, and we also have Radio Manchester taking our coverage here live from Leipzig this evening, where Manchester City are leading through that Riyad Mahrez goal after 26 minutes, and Leipzig only on the stroke of half-time, the last kick in fact of that first half, with Timo Werner having their first shot on target. Manchester City totally in control in that first 45 minutes, and Pep Guardiola would want very much the same, Matt Upson, and probably another goal to take back to Manchester for the return leg in mid-March. Yeah, but I mean already there's a little bit more edge to the Leipzig press. Two balls have come, so they've looked to just hook the ball on early down the channel. Andre Silva is in pursuit of that ball. Free kick though goes against the Portuguese international. You might recall at the start of the first half I mentioned that Leipzig had a banner behind the goal away towards our left-hand side that said essentially we're on the way to Istanbul. Quite wisely they decided to take it down at half-time. Yeah, it's disappeared. Reality kicked in. It's disappeared, hasn't it? Where's it gone? Yeah, I mean, I think they're looking to play a little bit more direct. I mean, when you think about it though, Dano, it's 1-0, and that's from a mistake of trying to pass the ball square in the middle of the pitch. You know, they've had all that dominance, but other than that, there weren't other massive clear-cut chances to score, were there? No. So it wouldn't surprise me if they don't try and fiddle about with the ball in that area too much, Leipzig, and they're just more direct. I mean, it's needs must, isn't it? And to not give the ball away in the middle of the pitch with how this Manchester City team are poised would make real sense to me. The club DJ was also an optimistic soul. He played Don't Stop Believing from The Journey during the half-time interval. Did you notice that? Yeah. Well, I wonder where that banner is. It's been folded up and put away in a cupboard somewhere for the time being, hasn't it? Who sang We're on the Road to Nowhere? They should have done that after the evidence of the first 45 minutes. Anyway, they're coming forward now. Diagonal ball towards Timo Werner. Werner inside the penalty area, plays it off the legs of Akanji, and it rolls out for the corner flag for a throw to Leipzig. They've shown more in these opening 2.5 minutes of the second half as an attacking force and seeing more of the ball than they certainly did in the majority of that first 45 minutes. So Marco Rose, the former Salzburg, Borussia Mönchengladbach and Dortmund coach, has clearly had a word. He's had a pep talk to try and combat Pep's men. So you took another one of those complimentary energy drinks at half-time. Want to go steady on them, mate? A little bit lively, aren't they? Possibly. Don't worry. I haven't grown the wings just yet. Here is Lima. Orban out towards the substitute Henriks over the halfway line. Henriks plays it forward to Szoboszlai. I did put it actually on social media, and I realised that if Leipzig now turn this around completely, it'll look rather foolish mocking Leipzig for taking that banner down. However, the ball played out by Gvardiol was well behind Forsberg, and it goes out of play for a throw. Forsberg, who was signed from Malmo in 2015, so he really has seen them rise to be a real force in German football. Although in many ways they are novices still on Europe's elite stage, as Haaland tries to shrug off Gvardiol, but Gvardiol wins that little battle and then plays it forward to Schlager. He does that so well, Haaland, doesn't he? I mean, how aggressive. He searches for the first contact. He never waits for someone to hit him. Gundogan enters the penalty area left-hand side. Time to pick his spot. Back to Mahrez. First shot blocked. Comes back out towards Grealish. Grealish with his back to goal. Turns inside the penalty area. It's dispossessed. And then has actually fouled Orban. And then kicks the ball away. And it will be a free kick to Leipzig. And Serdar Gezebuyuk, the Dutch referee will just have a word with the England international.
Yeah, he just turned around straight away, Jack Grealish, just to try and sweeten the referee to not book him for kicking the ball away. But that's a great chance for Manchester City. Gundogan cuts the ball back, and there's just too many bodies in the way of that strike from Mahrez. I think he might have hit one of his teammates on the way to the goal, but sloppy again. I think they just won that ball, didn't they? Just stepped in on the turnover in a bad place again, right in the middle of the pitch in front of the 18-yard box. They have to be careful, Leipzig, not to give the ball away in that area, because the way City just pounce on it and have players right in position just for that first pass is really impressive.
That's the voice of Matt Upson, who always liked playing against German opposition. 2 goals against Germany during your England career. One of them, of course, was in the World Cup in 2010 in South Africa. As a current England international, Kyle Walker is watching Riyad Mahrez prepare to take in fact, he'll leave it for Walker to take the free kick. There was a foul just committed over the halfway line on this near side, but playing from left to right. In fact, Bernardo Silva actually strikes it back to Akanji, and now to Ruben Dias. They look a little bit braver, do Leipzig. They're trying to press City there. There was a little bit more intensity in trying to close City down off the ball. Yeah,
because they'd given that up in the first half, hadn't they? In terms of pressing anywhere into the City half, they just sat right off and just gave up on that and thought, well, we can't press in there. We'd rather just sit deep and just limit the chances. But you're right. They certainly set about the second half a little bit higher, a little bit braver.
It's the 9th game against Premier League opposition. Incidentally, they have won all 3 matches here in Leipzig. There's Mahrez with that long ball, right side of the penalty area now for Manchester City. Plays it short and back to Bernardo Silva. Right corner of the box, enters the penalty area, twisting and turning, back heels it and gives it away towards Timo Werner. But Leipzig are still well inside their own half. And Guardiola turns and plays it down the line on this near side, but there was Ruben Dias to play it early forward. Schlager finds Forsberg. Henrichs, the substitute, nudges the ball forward to Szoboszlai. They were looking for the runner of Lima, but that was cut out well by Ake. It goes out of play for a throw that Leipzig take quickly. There is certainly a lot more urgency from Leipzig. They still haven't made any real headway to try and trouble the City defence, but at least you can see the effort. Here is Forsberg now. Finds Timo Werner. Werner outside the penalty area. Cross comes in from the left. The header from Henrichs is just over the top. The right back had got forward into a central area, and his header had Edison on the stretch, and that was much better from the German team.
Well, they've come out in the second half with more purpose, more intent. It's exactly what they needed. Like I said, you don't need the ball to have that. You can bring that into your play, and they're doing it at the moment, Leipzig. Getting the ball wide, it's a decent cross into the box. The header is a good couple of feet over the crossbar, but it's more about the fact that when they get the ball, they're looking to hurt City and play the ball into the space behind them.
All of a sudden it feels as if this might result in a more competitive game for Manchester City, because they were so superior in that first half. Here is Schlager. So they've beaten City, Spurs and Manchester United here at home. When they beat Liverpool, it was actually at a neutral venue. They were playing in Budapest. It was, of course, during the pandemic, which was the last time I was here. It was with Tottenham Hotspur just before the pandemic. And then, of course, back then, when we said that history repeated itself in 1920, when Manchester City lost their quarter-final, it was a one-off tie, if you recall, when the Champions League was concluded in Lisbon. City are looking to try and reach the last 8 over these 2 legs here. They're leading by 1-0, but here is Forsberg. Can't control the ball, wouldn't necessarily run through to Halstenberg, the left back who was ahead of him. Goes out of play, which Forsberg takes quickly. The blonde Swedish midfielder, Schlager, now the Austrian coming forward. Plays it inside, Szoboszlai, they have a man over, and Szoboszlai finds Henrichs, and Henrichs puts it wide. What a golden chance that was for Leipzig. They cut through the City defence, and the goal was gaping, and Henrichs couldn't even hit the target.
Well, they work the overload eventually. They do it really well, Leipzig. Good passing into Szoboszlai. I think he nutmegs Nathan Ake on the pass out wide to Henrichs, and it just falls to probably the wrong man in the wrong place, and he just doesn't hit the target. He tries to side put the ball, which I think is the right option in terms of place it into the corner, but he just gets it wrong and probably misses the far post by about a foot or so, but much better. It's the best chance of the game by a mile.
Certainly is. And now all of a sudden you can see why Leipzig are such a threat at home. Eintracht Frankfurt, the last team actually to stop Leipzig from scoring, and that was March last year. 22 games since where they've always found the net. And it's certainly perked up the crowd behind that goal that Leipzig are attacking, all in white, playing from right to left, trailing by 1-0. Leimer over the halfway line. Takes a quick throw, looking for Timo Werner, running in behind Akanji. Werner's still going, enters the penalty area, looking in towards the near post. Forsberg was there, saved at the near post by Edison, diving forward, all in blue. But Leipzig have their tails up.
We have a game. We have a game because Leipzig, all of a sudden, the speed also that they get the ball back on throw-ins is quick, isn't it? I mean, there was a quick throw-in. The ball went out of play, and all of a sudden, bang, the throw-in's taken. Werner's on the run down the channel, and they're all just got this little bit more of an edge, more energy, more decisive with their decision-making. It's good to see.
Well, you said in the first half they were too passive. It had to change, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, and I'm sure that was heavily touched on at half-time by Marco Rosa, and he's maybe put a little livener into the players about how they're applying themselves in the mentality, and not to give too much respect to this very good Manchester City team, but do what you're good at.
Gundogan heads it forward. Grealish tried to play Gundogan in on the overlap. That was cut out though by Leimer. Szoboszlai plays it short and forward, but actually presents it back to Manchester City, and Jack Grealish running back with the ball at his feet on the halfway line. Cut out though by a sliding Silva. And then Haaland coming back helps get the ball back and regained by Manchester City. Out towards Walker on this near side, the right. Walker inside towards Mahrez. Mahrez back towards Bernardo Silva. Certainly, though, they're coming under a lot more pressure. Manchester City, when they have the ball from Leipzig, who are looking to try and close them down. But City have kept the ball ever so well, much better than their German counterparts tonight as we approach the hour mark on BBC Radio 5 Live. Mahrez, the goal scorer, running forward. He's got Walker going on ahead of him. He was just getting ahead of himself, was Kyle Walker. Mahrez plays the ball back to Rodri. Ake joins the attack, passes the ball to Grealish, far side the left. Grealish into the penalty area, Gundogan able to turn. Back to Grealish just outside the box. Grealish enters the penalty area now. Edge of the box finds Rodri. Rodri at a walking pace towards Bernardo Silva, side onto goal. 35 yards away from goal now, being tracked by Forsberg. Back out it goes towards that far side towards Ake. Manchester City lead Leipzig 1-0. And we've been playing for nearly an hour. Tomorrow night we're at Old Trafford. Manchester United against Barcelona in the Europa League. A third successive night of European football on BBC Radio 5 Live. Peter Schmeichel in the commentary box with Alistair Bruce Ball, the build-up from 7, commentary at 8 o'clock. As Manchester City just try and wrestle back a little bit more of a control, because this second half in the opening almost 15 minutes has been a lot more even.
Yeah, Leipzig have got to be careful they don't allow them to get that grip on the game again that they had in the first half. This last couple of minutes we've seen that passing quality from Manchester City, and the calmness and the way they spread the pitch and make it so big. Leipzig doing their best to press and get after the ball, but you've got to be careful you don't leave yourself too open, and they just got to make sure they just keep that tempo high, because the moment they drop the tempo, Manchester City, it just plays into their hands.
Here is Gundogan, shifts the ball out to Grealish, far side the left. Haaland waits, just looks a little disconsolate there as that ball didn't come in immediately, just turned away, his shoulders just seemed to drop a fraction. Here is Akanji outside the centre circle, back towards Walker, high up the pitch on this near side the right. Walker's now wanted Akanji to come a bit closer towards him, tried to usher Akanji to come forward, the Swiss international, as the ball will run through to the German goalkeeper Blaswich, all in green, away towards right hand side. So when the last 16 was introduced in 03-04 in the Champions League, only once in the 13-14 campaign, the 4 English sides never won the first leg at this stage of the competition. Never have all 4 lost. And on that occasion, it was Manchester United losing to Olympiacos, Arsenal losing to Bayern, City lost to Barcelona, and Chelsea, who drew against Galatasaray. Manchester City, though, just as they did 3 years ago, are going to offer the salvation for the English quartet in Europe's elite competition as it stands. But Henriks is attacking. He's had 2 chances, the substitute, since he's come on at half-time. Leipzig still trailing by 1-0. Orban gives the ball away, and the threat now for City on the counter-attack with Grealish coming forward. Grealish, though, is held up, and a goal again at England against Belgium. Chris Coles.
Another for England, cruising to victory now. 4-0 they lead. The goal from a Belgian centre-half, a Julie Bieshman's own goal, turning in Georgia Stanway's cross. 10 minutes to play, England enjoying themselves. 4-0.
Commentary of that last 10 minutes is on Sports Extra. As Leipzig seeing a lot more of the ball. Orban's forward ball, Lima lets it run through, Szoboszlai out towards Henriks, first time cross comes in from the right hand side, over the head of Silva, picks up on this near side as the cross comes back in from Halstenberg, the left back, and then it's Gundogan who heads it up towards Haaland, just doesn't get the better of Guardiola, who gets a foot into the challenge, picked up by Gundogan, and then quickly snuffed out by Schlager on the cover.
That was great play from Schlager. He identified that so early. I mean, Haaland hit the deck and bounced up so quickly, and he was in behind, and Schlager just saw that, went straight over to Gundogan and just didn't allow that ball to get played in behind and got a block in. It was a really good piece of defensive instinct there.
Here is Schlager.
But they're living a little bit more in the edge at the back, aren't they? So that's the gamble. You're getting up the pitch, but those little moments there have to go your way. Other players like Haaland will punish you in behind.
Beautiful diagonal ball from Schlager to Henriks, but on defensive duties there was Jack Grealish back with the right back. Fed it back to the keeper Ederson, all in blue, hoisted it away downfield. Orban then heads it to Gvardiol, who that's a good ball to pick out Silva. Silva now enters the penalty area. Silva's done well. Silva has a sight of goal, tries to dink it, and then quickly running off his goal line. A smothering save by Ederson from a tight angle to deny Silva.
Has he got to take that with his left foot, Deno? I just think he's chopped it back onto his right and then tried to lift it over Ederson, where it was quite a tight angle, but he could have really let fly with his left foot. Really good piece of play, skipped round Akanji with ease, actually. Really good feet from Silva, good movement, and Leipzig again really carving out a good opportunity to score.
Well, you said it, Matt, very early in this second half. You said game on, and all of a sudden now the quality of Leipzig that we know that they possess, we're starting to see with the 3 chances that they've created in this second half. And Ederson was certainly alert as he looks for his 12th clean sheet of the season on his 30th appearance for Manchester City of this campaign. 63 minutes played. BBC Radio 5 Live. Radio Manchester are also taking our coverage here from Leipzig tonight, as Werner on the left hand side back to Halstenberg. Halstenberg to Gvardiol. Gvardiol will roll it across to Orban, hits it early, finds Forsberg, looking to try and turn. Forsberg wriggles away. Man over is Henriks, delivers the first time cross, blocked by Ake. City are having to do a lot more defending.
Loads more, in fact. They're actually now really having to work hard at the back. And the thing is that the back four of Leipzig are having to work harder as well. I know that sounds crazy, but when you're higher up the pitch and you're moving up and down, they sat in so deep that the midfield really had to cover a lot of ground, and you saw that with a mistake from Schlager and Lima. They were getting pretty fatigued in the middle of the park, but as a centre-back, when you're playing higher up the pitch, you're getting through a lot of work. You've got a lot more longer runs, higher intensity runs when you're recovering, and those runs into the channel. And it's starting to look a little bit more of a toe-to-toe kind of game, isn't it? A little bit more excitement around it.
It's interesting, though, that Halstenberg, the left-back, is, whether it's because of the proximity of Mahrez, isn't venturing as forward as Henriks is, the right-back on that other side.
Mahrez has taken up quite a narrow position, isn't he? So whether or not he's just a little bit concerned to leave him in there.
Gvardiol looks extremely animated down below. He described Nkunku as world class yesterday in the press conference, and he's going to be coming on. Now, when they met at the Etihad last season, City won 6-3. Nkunku actually scored a hat-trick. He picked up an injury in training ahead of the World Cup. He therefore had to miss out on a place in Qatar. But Nkunku, who made his appearance in the last 21 minutes against Wolfsburg at the weekend, is going to be coming on. And he's going to replace Emil Forsberg. So this is really going to add a lot more creativity and threat in that final third for Nkunku coming on now for Leipzig.
Well, if you could bring on any player at this stage of the game, you can't think of many better than him in the form and the impact that he's having on his football at the moment. Is in absolutely sparkling form in terms of confidence and ability to affect a game. He's very direct. He's got bags of pace as well. He really does run at defenders and run in behind. So he's just picked up that little position just off of Andre Silva where Forsberg was playing, and expect to see him make those runs from a slightly deeper position, which is always hard to mark and track.
45,220 is the attendance inside the Red Bull Arena tonight, and certainly we'll be seeing him in the Premier League next season as well, because of course he signed that pre-contract agreement with Chelsea as Christopher Nkunku. And here he is, short sleeves but wearing gloves. The French international plays his short ball. Schlager, nice little turn, little drag back. Here is Werner then looking towards Andre Silva. It was an intricate passage of play by Leipzig and required some alert defending by Manchester City to clear the ball out of play for a throw on that far side.
And straight away, Nkunku, lovely little clever passes, wasn't it? Little flick balls round the corner, back heel into Werner, who then tried to just slip the ball inside with another runner. I think it might have been Kyle Walker at full stretch on the ground that just got a really important toe on the ball.
Schlager out to Nkunku, pops up on this near side the left, diagonal ball towards Timo Werner, challenge from Bernardo Silva. Rodri now to Grealish midway through his own half. Little layoff by Gundogan. Grealish running through the centre circle. Releases Haaland. Haaland one-on-one. Haaland has a sight of goal and right-footed passes it across goal and out for a goal kick, and City still lead 1-0.
Well, not one of his most convincing finishes, but the movement is very hard to stop. Grealish does brilliant. Slides the ball. The run from Haaland is typical run away from the ball, straight down the line, and he just slowed down, drew Gvardiol close to him, and then sped up again really quickly and actually left Gvardiol. Bought himself a good yard or two, but didn't really strike the ball with any conviction.
Here is Schlager running forward on the left-hand side, over the halfway line, chips the ball in field. Szoboszlai's forward ball to Andre Silva. Silva back towards Szoboszlai. The Hungarian international's forced out very wide. Just keeps it in play on that byline right-hand side. Henriks is behind him. Henriks now runs in field. Schlager midway through the City half. Szoboszlai, back out it goes to find the Hungarian, just in from the right touchline, delivers a right-footed cross, and Kyle Walker didn't get the shout. There was no one behind him, but he didn't get the shout, and he's headed the ball behind to concede a corner kick. 1-0 City.
Well, he just had to do the safe thing, wasn't too sure, so if in doubt, head it out, and he's done that. And they're now defending a set piece, which Leipzig have got a decent record in the Bundesliga, I think, from set plays. They've got 5 goals or so from set plays this season, so they know how to find the back of the net.
Corner's been taken short. Werner, Szoboszlai! Flying save by Edison. Hit it right-footed. Must have been close to, well over 25 yards out from goal. It was moving in the air, and Edison at his near post turned it behind for a corner kick, which has already been taken. Far post comes in, and the header is in there. And Leipzig have equalised. It was the quick corner from Leipzig, and Gvardiol popped up inside the 6-yard area. And Leipzig have continued their record of scoring here and have levelled the tie at 1-1. Gvardiol, close range.
Well, it has to be said, it has been coming. He's had that feel about it. They've been pressing and pressing, took the corner quickly, and it's just a chipped ball into the box. But how well does Guardiola get up here? He rides off the back a little bit of the defender, but he's jumped so early. He's on the back of Ruben Diaz, but it's all about his desire to want to go and head this ball, and he is a good foot and a half above anyone. And then it's simple. He's about 5 yards out and just punches the ball down into the back of the net. I'm just looking at Pep Guardiola's reaction. He looks a little bit agitated there in the technical area, but brilliant set piece, good ball into the box, and a brilliant header from Guardiola.
Guardiola with his second goal of the campaign. Christopher Babel, when he was once on Radio 5, when he was here at Leipzig, he's now at Chelsea as their technical director. He was saying that Guardiola will become the best defender in the world, and there's no wonder that a whole host of clubs are chasing him. And on this time, he's popped up from close range to level. But that goal has certainly been coming in this second half from Leipzig. Talking of goals, there's been another one. Chris Coles in the Arnold Clark Cup.
And another, Ian, for England. 5-0 they lead Belgium as we approach stoppage time in the second half. Lucy Bronze, close range from a corner. England 5, Belgium 0.
Well, you'll hear the closing stage of that on Sports Extra. But it's been a transformation in this second half, hasn't it? Leipzig really have come out from that half-time team talk and shown everybody what they're all about.
It's a game of two halves, really, isn't it? Very much so.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's a bit of a saying, but it's been night and day in terms of how it's played out, and it's all due to the mentality of Leipzig. They didn't start this game with the mentality of, this is our home, you're going to come to our home, we're going to show you what we're about. They didn't able to do that just because of the way Manchester City started, with how comfortable they were with the ball. They never got into their rhythm. Well, they've certainly got into their rhythm in this second half, and it's going to be a really entertaining finish, you feel.
18 minutes remain. We're on air until 10:30. We'll bring you, if we can't bring you the reaction till then, we'll hear it on the 5 Live Football Daily podcast, available from the usual outlets as Mahrez comes forward. Walker on the overlap into the penalty area. Sliding across was Halstenberg, and Guardiola will clear it away for Leipzig. Also, incidentally, there is a special podcast with 50 years of Rafa Benitez, where he talks about the League Cup final this weekend, because of course we've got commentary on Sunday afternoon of Manchester United against Newcastle United at 4:30, after we brought you Tottenham-Chelsea as part of 5 Live Premier League Sunday. So still so much live football to look forward to. And a consolation for Belgium, Chris.
Oh, what a goal this is, Ian. 5-1, Laura Deleuze from range, edge of the area, left foot, top corner, goal of the night. Consolation for Belgium. England 5, Belgium 1.
17 minutes remain, 1-1. Grealish on the attack, left-hand side. Gundogan arriving! Good save by the goalkeeper. Haaland keeps it in play. Back towards Bernardo Silva inside the penalty area. Haaland now sends over the cross, low, half cleared away by Henriks, edge of the area. There was Nkunku, runs into Ake, City get the ball back. How alert there was Blasvic to keep out that effort, because he had to move smartly to his left.
I can't tell you how good a save that really is from Blasvic. Brilliant goalkeeping. I mean, it was surgical play from Manchester City. The way they just cut Leipzig open with the passing and movement, but he has to get down low. The ball's cut back and Gundogan's running onto it. He opens his body up and he just hits that right-footed side foot as he opens up. It's going into the far corner side netting, and he dives down to his left. Blasvic gets a really strong hand on it. It's a brilliant save.
It certainly was. He was very smart. One-handed save. Certainly the best opportunity that Manchester City have created in the second half. It remains Leipzig 1, Manchester City 1. We have 16 minutes remaining here on BBC Radio 5 Live, BBC Sounds and Radio Manchester also taking our coverage as Ake. The return leg at the Etihad, 14th of March. Before then, Manchester City continue on their tour. They're halfway through 5 successive away matches after Arsenal and Forest, both away from home. Then this one, they then go to Bournemouth at the weekend, and then to Bristol City in the FA Cup next weekend. As on the edge of the area, Gundogan was almost there. Schlager brings it away. Counter-attack possibilities here. Szoboszlai releases Timo Werner. Walker comes across to hold him up, just in from the left touchline. Remains at 1-1. And now Andre Silva, back it goes, and it's with Halstenberg rather.
That's just how open this game can be. All of a sudden, that ball goes 1 yard the other side. Manchester City are in to score, but the moment they win it on the edge of their 18-yard box, Leipzig, they then turn that into a counter and nearly put Werner in. That's how open the game is at the moment. It's going to be, hopefully, an exciting last 15 minutes.
Well read by Halstenberg. Track the run. Step forward into defence in that centre circle to win the ball back for Leipzig. Full time now, England women against Belgium. Chris Coles.
England comfortably retain the Arnold Clark Cup. 6-1 winners in the end over Belgium. A brace for Chloe Kelly and Leah Williamson. Julie Biesman's own goal and Lucy Bronze. All very straightforward, although Belgium did get one back through Elena Dont's cracker in stoppage time. It's now 28 games unbeaten under Serena Wiegman and another trophy in the cabinet. England 6, Belgium 1.
And we'll be reflecting on that before we're off air at 10:30. Steph Houghton, of course, is in the studio tonight with us. And with Mark Chapman, we will reflect on England's success as they continue their impressive run of form in the build-up to the World Cup in the summer down under. Beating Belgium 6-1. But with 14 minutes remaining here in the Champions League, we're level pegging at 1 apiece. Walker forward on this near side, the right, level with the penalty area. Timo Werner, who was a second-half substitute for Chelsea when they beat Manchester City in the Champions League final 2 years ago. 106 goals that he scored over his 2 spells for the club, which is a club record. Manchester City get a throw on the halfway line on that far side. And Ake waits to take it. A City side that is missing De Bruyne, missing Laporte. They've only used something like 21 players in the Premier League, the fewest amount in anybody in England's top division. And I would imagine with this run of fixtures, the schedule that they've got at the minute, Pep Guardiola, mindful of Bournemouth at the weekend, he might want to be resting Foden in terms of the rotation, because the games just continue to come thick and fast for City. Back it goes with Rodri. Rodri's forward ball goes astray. Schlager to Silva. He's got the run of Lima through the middle. Walker, though, with a challenge, did well to win it back. City give the ball away again. No foul on this occasion. Now there will be a hold that the referee's blown his whistle. And there's a stoppage now at 1-1. 12 minutes remain.
Well, Kyle Walker just runs across the back there and he just shunts into the side of Andre Silva. He makes a bit of a meal of it. I mean, he's just barging into his shoulder. It's not like he's caught him in the side of the head or anything, but he's still rolling around on the floor.
Do you think he's, again, that simmering from there?
Maybe. There's been a couple of little challenges, hasn't there, between them. Perhaps there is a little bit of something going on there. I mean, it hasn't been glaringly obvious, but Kyle Walker just recovering into that position. Goes to get his body across him to win the ball. He does give him a good shunt in the back, doesn't he, or on the shoulder. But
well, there'll be a free kick to Leipzig, which they've taken and knocked back, and then it's with the goalkeeper Blasvich, all in green, hits it forward, right-footed, and Kunku's going to make that run. Diaz chests the ball into the path of Rodri, just outside the centre circle. Over the halfway line he comes. Chips the ball, but Henriks, who certainly had a valuable contribution since he's come on at right back with a header away. Gundogan, though, threads it past Henriks to Grealish, who runs with real purpose into the penalty area. Mahrez tried to flick it into the path of Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva eventually gets the shot away left-footed. It was blocked, slides into the challenge to win it back. Rodri then with a short square ball towards Ake. We have just over 10 minutes remaining here on BBC Radio 5 Live. Leipzig 1, Manchester City 1. Rodri forward, tries to thread it through, doesn't quite reach Haaland, and Leipzig get it away through Halstenberg. Onto the head of Werner, won't keep the ball in play. Yes, he will on the halfway line, then loses out to Kyle Walker. And Walker surges forward, diagonal run. Out it goes to Mahrez, a little flat-footed. Out of play it goes for a throw to Leipzig, just over 10 minutes remaining.
Important pressure from Lema there on Walker, just stopped him with that driving run and then really leant on him. He was about to make that pass and force Walker to pass it out of play and just relieve that little bit of pressure. But Leipzig now really looking for that one ball, and that one ball only, which is over the top for Werner whenever they turn the ball over.
Szoboszlai punts the ball forward towards Nkunku. Nkunku was already checking the whereabouts of the run of Silva, the Portuguese international, whose fellow countryman Otávio has actually been sent off in San Siro. It remains Inter Milan 0, Porto 0 in the other game in the last 16 of the Champions League, but Porto are down to 10 men with 12 minutes of normal time remaining. Here we're level, but it's at 1-1 with under 10 minutes to go of normal time, and it looks like Marco Rosa is going to make another change, and Amadou Haidara, the Malian international midfielder who joined from Salzburg 4 years ago, part of the Red Bull franchise, is going to be coming on. In fact, it's going to be a double change as well, I notice, because we're also going to see Youssef Poulsen, who is close to making his 350th appearance for the club. He joined 10 years ago, the Danish international, at 6'3". So a striker and a midfielder to be coming on for RB Leipzig with 9 minutes remaining. City, meanwhile, have been awarded a throw on this near side, the right, and we will see now who's going to be coming off for this double change. And first of all, it's going to be Schlager, so that's like for like for Amadou Haidara to replace Java Schlager in the midfield there for Leipzig. And Andre Silva, the Portuguese international, makes way for Youssef Poulsen. So not necessarily had the most prolific of seasons. He's only contributed 3 goals so far, but he might provide a different sort of a threat for Leipzig in the closing stages.
I just think he's looking to freshen it up. They've worked hard in this game. They've had long spells chasing the ball down and chasing shadows for much of the first half, and it's just fresh legs on the pitch, and Poulsen has that ability to maybe hold the ball up or just flick on or glance on any kind of balls in the air for the runners that are going to be going beyond him.
Manchester City's in different form away from home. They well continue. They failed to win 4 of their last 5 on their travels before tonight. Interesting, when they were held at Forest at the weekend and Guardiola said, you analysed the performance. I wonder what Guardiola's comments would be if he was to analyse the performance of tonight. So much in control first half, and yet second half has been much more of an even duel between the two.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been very surprising if they would have kept up that kind of dominance over the full 90 minutes. I mean, yeah, he would have been expecting a reaction from Leipzig, I'm sure, and he's certainly got that.
You have to say it's a fair scoreline on the balance of the game overall. Yep. Leipzig have been the better side second half. 7 minutes of normal time remaining here on BBC Radio 5 Live. As the ball with Haidara to Gvardiol from that quickly taken corner, who scored from close range to equalise for Leipzig in the 70th minute. And Bolton Wanderers, through Elias Kuchunga, have scored a goal that might be taking Bolton to Wembley and a date against Plymouth in the EFL Trophy. They lead Accrington by a goal to 0. Accrington, who were reduced to 10 men after the sending off of Sean McConville in the first half. Leipzig, meanwhile, 1-1 here on BBC Radio 5 Live. Timo Werner takes a free kick and short to Haidara. Gvardiol, back it goes to the goalkeeper, who plays it back out to Gvardiol, this left-footed central defender, Croatian international, hits it down the line. That Poulsen seemed unwilling to make the run.
Well, he started, didn't he, and then just kind of stopped and thought, I'm not going to run in that channel, I'm just going to stay in the middle of the pitch, and it was too late, as Gvardiol had already just hit that channel ball.
The ball is rolled out by Blažević, the goalkeeper, out that far side. And we've got just over 5 minutes remaining as Manchester City have had the opportunities in the second half. Gundogan, though, forcing a one-handed save from the Leipzig goalkeeper as Walker actually presents the ball to Nkunku on this left-hand side. Nkunku to Timo Werner. Werner left corner of the area. Invites Halstenberg to deliver the cross towards the far post. Henriks was there, almost got in the way of Szoboszlai. Chance to be brought away now by Jack Grealish, who turns midway through his own half. The white shirts were quick to surround him. And then Grealish has a little bit of afters there with Poulsen. And the referee was quick to intervene. He might want to show his authority by having a talking to between the two players, who actually just have a brief handshake.
It's been a friendly game, hasn't it? It's not been too much needle in this at all. If anything, you felt like Leipzig needed to make it a little bit more scruffy, a bit rougher. I think that would have benefited them. And Poulsen there, using a bit of experience, made a really good foul. Actually, Grealish has just had his head up to play the ball into somebody. I think it was Gundogan who was running beyond. He just fouls him blatantly, gives away, just stops the play, stops that counter-attack happening.
Bolton Wanderers have got a second goal at Accrington Stanley. 2-0 they lead in that Northern Area final of the EFL Trophy. This is 5 Live and it's the Champions League. Tomorrow night we're at Old Trafford for commentary of Manchester United against Barcelona. After an enthralling first leg in the Nou Camp last week where it finished 2-2. This is 1-1. Certainly sets up an intriguing second leg at the Etihad on the 14th of March. Unless, with 4 minutes remaining, one of the two sides can find a goal in the closing stages here in Leipzig. As Gundogan back to Ake. The two continue to exchange passes. Ake really without going anywhere, threads it back through towards Gundogan, who turns, and Rodri in the centre circle out towards Walker on this near side, the right, just in from the touchline. There's a little step over without going anywhere. Back inside to Rodri midway through the Leipzig half. Now to Bernardo Silva, and along the ground out towards Grealish, just in from the left touchline. Grealish runs in field, away from Henriks. 30 yards out from goal. 3 white shirts are in front of him. Plays the ball back out to the left for Ake. And then Bernardo Silva to Akanji. His touch is a first-time ball to Mahrez. Mahrez up against Timo Werner. Now they've retreated. Plenty of white shirts back behind the ball. Inter through Romelu Lukaku in San Siro. Lead against the 10 men of Porto. 1-0 in that other game in the last 16. Inter 1, Porto 0 in Stadio San Siro. We were there last week, of course, with Tottenham Hotspur. Here is Mahrez running forward. Mahrez away from the challenge of Werner. Held up though by Hadara. Back towards Rodri. Tracked by Hadara. Nkunku will give chase as Ruben Dias passes the ball out to Bernardo Silva. Invites Ake onto the ball. Back to Bernardo Silva. City now starting to see a lot more of the ball as they did in the first half. Hasn't necessarily been the case in this second period. Akanji to Rodri. But Leipzig have dropped off at this stage, with 2 and a bit minutes remaining of normal time. The amount of substitutions that have been made, I probably wouldn't think more than 3 minutes of stoppage time by the Dutch officials. We'll wait and see. Talking of substitutions, there's going to be another one for Leipzig, and it's going to be David Raum who's going to be coming on. We saw him at the World Cup. Indeed, I was reading that he was the most tattooed player at the World Cup. You can see why, with a tattoo on his neck and all the way up his hand and his forearm.
Is there an award for that or something?
Hey, with FIFA, anything could happen these days.
Is that after the player of the tournament, is it?
Give it time, Matt, give it time. So Raum has come on, and it was just like for like, wasn't it, replacing Halstenberg.
Left back for left back.
So joined in the summer from Hoffenheim. He likes to get forward, but just a fresh pair of legs in these closing stages. Remains 1-1. Gundogan turns, challenge from Henriks. Referee's going to show a yellow card. First yellow card of the night. Henriks is brandished towards him. He pleads his innocence for the challenge on Gundogan, but he's shown yellow.
Yeah, I mean, we've gone to 89 minutes before that tackle's gone in, and it wasn't far off getting the ball. He may well have got a chunk of the ball, maybe not. Very, very close, but he certainly does clatter into the side of Gundogan, and it's from behind, so it is a yellow card. But like I said earlier, there probably hasn't quite been enough of that from Leipzig. You'd fancy them to have been a little bit more heavy with those challenges and just tried to disrupt Manchester City, that have had lovely rhythm, haven't they? I mean, you say that the ball's been in play so much in this game. There's not going to be masses of injury time. It's really flowed nicely.
Rodri had just dropped in between the two central defenders, had spotted the run of Mahrez on off the right touchline. He lifted a long ball forward. 2 minutes of added on time. I certainly wasn't expecting many, 3 at the most, but it's just going to be 2 additional minutes, which we're now into here on BBC Radio 5 Live, and it remains 1-1. Ake's forward ball, Bernardo Silva. So here's a potential talking point when we're through until 10:30. Despite all of the riches of the Premier League and all of the power that they supposedly say that the Premier League has over Europe, and the envious eyes that are cast towards England's top flight, none of the quartet in this first leg since the resumption of the Champions League have won any of their ties in this last 16. Here is Raum, forward for Leipzig. Hidara to Lima. Credit Leipzig though, the way that they've responded in this second half, as Gvardiol just plays a ball too far ahead of Werner and it runs away ahead of him and out for a throw.
It's much more measured now in terms of shots on target. I think Leipzig with 4 on target, Man City with 3, and the possession has just levelled out, hasn't it? I mean, it's still heavily in the favour of Manchester City, but it's just been much more of an even battle in this second half.
The only other time that it's happened when none of the 4 English sides have won a first leg of the last 16 was 9 years ago. On that occasion, Manchester United overturned the first leg deficit to Olympiacos, and Chelsea, who drew with Galatasaray, then also progressed, as here is Mahrez trying to come forward into the penalty area. Lima though has to concede the corner kick. So Manchester City, in the last 20 seconds now, playing from left to right, have been awarded a corner kick. Is there enough time for them to snatch it right at the death here in Leipzig? A lot of empty red seats have appeared in this arena. The German support heading for home. Will they witness or miss this City goal if they were to score it right at the end? This will surely be the last bit of the action. The 2 minutes by my watch are up. Mahrez gave City a first half lead, waits to take the corner kick. The referee now instructs him to take it. Leipzig have everybody back. It's 1-1 here on 5 Live. Mahrez plays it to the edge of the area, played back to him by Gundogan. Mahrez then sends over the cross. It's arcing, takes a deflection. They're appealing for handball there, as it was gathered in by Blasvich, who now clears away early. The referee, of course, will have the communication from his VAR, as Nkunku now comes forward for Leipzig on the edge of the area, cleared away by Walker, and there is the full-time whistle. And Manchester City still protest over a potential penalty in the dying stages of the game, but it has finished Leipzig 1, Manchester City 1. Matt Upson.
Very, very interesting game of football. Not too much goalmouth action in that first half, but what we saw was such a controlled display from Pep Guardiola's team. As I'm looking at pictures of him just in his technical area, maybe dissecting the game a little bit with Marco Rose, having a chat with him, but I think he'll be pretty happy, Deno, overall, to come away and take this second leg back to the Etihad with a 1-1 and really fancy his chances to put Manchester City through to the next round.
Well, Manchester City certainly in the first half bossed it. They were totally in control. Mahrez, an emphatic finish, gave them the lead after 26 minutes. There were chances for Rodri and Grealish, and Timo Werner's effort on the stroke of half-time was Leipzig's first effort in the game. It was 1-0 at the break, but Leipzig came out totally transformed second half, and then they deservedly equalised through Gvardiol with 20 minutes remaining, but only after Ederson had made a save from Silva, Szoboszlai and Henriks had placed an effort wide as well. Gundogan then forced a good save at the other end as Pep Guardiola speaks to his players in the centre circle. It's finished here in the Red Bull Arena, and all to play for in the second leg. Leipzig 1, Manchester City 1.
He's gathering them there, isn't he, at the moment? Ian, his players all in a little huddle, and he gives them a chat, and then he sends them, I'm assuming, towards the away fans.
Yeah, they're walking across the pitch now. There's just over 2,000 City fans who've travelled here to Leipzig, and Guardiola is right in the middle of that Manchester City playing squad, who are walking over and being tracked by the cameras to acknowledge the loyal support at this testing time for the City support, given that they're in a run of 5 successive away matches. When he shook hands with Marco Rose at the end, Mark, he looked quite content, and then he just shunted a little bit to the fourth official, whether I haven't had a chance to see it again. But at the minute, he's applauding the City supporters. I thought probably overall a fair result, 1-1.
The City supporters seem absolutely fine. You don't often, Steph Horton watching in the studio, you don't often see him do a little huddle on the pitch like that, do you?
No, I've not seen that before from Pep. Normally it's kind of just done in the changing rooms, but yeah, he's probably trying to say, keep your head up, boys, because obviously going off the first half performance, probably if we were getting that second goal, the game would have been done. But this is a very good Leipzig side who came out fighting in the second half.
What, came out with more belief, would you say?
Yeah, just a lot more intensity with everything. I think Matt mentioned it in terms of the throw-ins. They were starting the game quick, and they created chances, try to get set pieces, which they looked a threat on and scored the goal from. So I think just a bit of a change in mentality and just kind of decided to go for it.
I mean, if you're in the last 16 of the Champions League and you are away from home, at some point you would expect the home side to at least have a spell, wouldn't you, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty sure that would have been touched on at half-time from Pep Guardiola in saying, hey, listen, lads, we're going to face a different challenge in this second half. We've been so dominant, but they're going to unsettle us in the second half. We need to be ready and be able to match it. And I think they did that relatively well to a degree. I thought we saw glimpses of the best of what Leipzig offer with some of their attacking play and the energy. You don't need the ball to be aggressive and to be direct and to have that purpose, and they certainly had that. The chance, I'm looking at the replay of the chance from Henriks, that one that went across where they worked it out to the right really well, and he just couldn't finish it. It was a great chance, but you know, they really came back into the game with real strength.
They're having a proper look on telly as well at the moment on my monitor, with the very, very late penalty shout at the end, and whether that was going to go to VAR.
How's it looking, Chappers? How's it looking?
Well, it's very difficult to tell from my angle. I don't know, Steph, if you'll have it on a bigger telly in that studio. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a handball. He's raised his arms and he's trying to protect his face, so no wonder all the City players are running towards the referee at the end there.
But his arms are sort of tucked in, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, they're not away from the body, but to kind of protect your face like that, I think obviously you're moving towards the ball, so obviously VAR didn't seem to want it to be a penalty, and City take back a 1-1 draw back to the Etihad in a couple of weeks' time.
So maybe, Ian, that was why there was the chuntering at the end.
Yeah, we saw, I mean, it'd be interesting if it hadn't been in the last minute, whether there'd have been another change, because although the communication, you would imagine, is constant with the referees, but the City players, as soon as it happened, went to surround the referee, and Guardiola clearly made his point towards the fourth official. I haven't had a chance to see it again, I'll be honest with you. So
1-1 then in Germany. We'll have more to talk about after 10 if we get any reaction.